So I'm making a video, and I just got home from walking the dogs and taking my 20-year-old cat because he's not safe in the house. And I'm now cooking food for my dogs. One of them will not eat without there now being a way bigger incentive to the food because he has to combat the nausea, which they feel constantly, just like I do. Anyhow, there was someone who made a comment that I needed mental help. I want to respond to that because it seems to be the dialogue that wants to be created. And he was a John Doe, interestingly enough. And so very possibly even, and not, I don't know this for sure, but sex trafficker, drug trafficker trying to create a dialogue. And that is the dialogue that they love to create, that I'm insane, and that this is all not happening. And I really just would like to remind people of the reality of things, and that many times people will be considered insane that say something that people don't want to hear. Things that they don't want to believe, that are happening, and I get it. I really, really do. But let's just take a moment to think about all the cases out there. Like in particular, I'm thinking about the woman who was locked in her basement by her father for 24 years and had given birth to 7 of his children. I'm sure she was worried about not being believed. I'm sure. Of course she would be, because who's ever heard of that happening before? Nobody had heard of that happening before. That a father had imprisoned his own daughter for 24 years and had her give birth to 7 of his children. That's just not something that was common knowledge when she had that happen. So let's just think about that. It's really, and she was afraid, and the fact is she wasn't believed at first from what I read. They didn't believe her. Whoops. But she was able to somehow convince them that it was true. And lucky for her, because otherwise who knows what would have happened to her, her kids, and all of that. It is very hard when you are experiencing something that nobody else has experienced, so there's not a history of. And of course, my mental stability, has been tested. I'm inhaling anesthesia, which is something that people should become aware of, that is a very easy and accessible drug that can be used by people of illegal means. And to do something to a human being like that is pretty grotesque. So I get the resistance to it. Sex trafficking, all those things, sadly, too commonplace for words. But at any rate, I just want to remind people that creating a dialogue where you're saying that somebody's insane, this person has never met me. I have a strong inclination to think that this would be one of their people, and that he's trying to create that dialogue, that is the truth, and that I am full of crap, and that is going to be what they continue to try to do. There's just things that don't make sense. Like when I go to Good Samaritan Hospital in West Los Angeles to get a rape kit done, and the police are called, and they call Van Nuys, and Van Nuys department has me ferried back to the Van Nuys Police Department, and then proceeds to persecute me for I'm guessing it was about 3.5 hours. And there were about 4 to 5 of them, and that's those kind of things where they screwed up, in my mind, because it doesn't make sense. You can't discount somebody like that because you don't believe what they say. You have to at least, especially because supposedly you don't know if I'm telling the truth or not. So I just, I think it's very important to acknowledge and recognize that creating that kind of dialogue is dangerous. You know, God forbid that that woman that had been locked in the basement for 24 years, or the 3 women that escaped from Ariel Castro's house, if all of them had not been believed, you know, just think about what would have happened. Most likely they would have been murdered in their attempt to try to gain freedom. So I think that much times in life, if you don't know and you have no idea what the truth is, to jump to any conclusions at the peril of somebody's safety, well-being, is a mistake. And it takes a lot of cojones to say something over the internet that somebody's insane. Because, and I did listen to those audio recordings, and they didn't really sound like that great, and not very like, here it is. I guess it's just very different when I know the sounds of this house because I've been living here, and, you know, those were loud sounds. It was definitely hard, I'm guessing, for somebody to understand that it was coming from the recorder. But I thought that that would be a good attempt to show what's happening in my home. And it wasn't that great. I tried to demonstrate. But there are clearly people in this house. Those are clearly loud noises happening inside a home that has supposedly, no living being in it. It's a lot of noise. And I can go back and look for other audios and see if I can't get a better recording. But the use of anesthesia should really be acknowledged, because that's super dangerous. Like, I'm drinking coffee, which I just started drinking 2 months ago. And again, that's pretty demonstrative in itself, in that I will have, like last night, 9 shots of espresso. But if I sit in my home for like a couple hours, all of a sudden my heart rate just drop. And I've literally knocked out cold from the anesthesia within 20 minutes of drinking 6 shots of espresso. And these things are just not logical. You can't have an explanation of how that happens. You can't say I was super, super tired. You can't, like right now, I'm all wound. I've been up, I've been out. I've been not in a contained environment with this stuff. So that's what I'm trying to document. And if you don't like it and you think I'm crazy, keep it to yourself, I guess I'd say. Seriously. Because if you don't know, then don't say anything. Because the repercussions of that are pretty great, to devalue what I'm saying, or to create a dialogue that would maybe not enable me to get help. So unless you're one of those kind of people that like to rape and sodomize people and anesthetize animals, then I would just keep it to yourself. And just think about what you say, and think about how in history women have always been labeled nuts whenever they say something that people don't want to hear. It's just a good fallback. It's like centuries old. Just call a woman nuts, and then that's it. You know what's nuts is a sex crime detective saying that he's never had a case where the person didn't remember or could describe the perpetrator. That he's never had a case where someone got drugged and raped. Yeah, I think that's kind of crazy. I think somebody that says that is, that's a red flag, that this is more than that. And also, let's just add that, say I was crazy. Say that I was diagnosed with some crazy thing. Does that mean I can't get raped? Does that mean even if all this could still be happening? So it doesn't really discount it, does it? It just sort of discounts me as a human. And I don't really appreciate it. I'm going to be honest. I don't. And my hope is John Doe, if he is a normal person and isn't a sex trafficker and a drug trafficker, that he holds on tight to whatever female is in his inner circle. Because bad stuff is coming. Period. It just is. We had a rapist as president. We've had rapists before as presidents. This is not new. It's not a Democrat Republican thing. California is being literally taken over by the cartel and right under people's noses, and they don't even know about it, and they don't care, and they're not willing to pay attention, and they're not willing to fight. So, you can either listen to those kind of people's dialogue where they want to create the dialogue, and, I'm just stating facts. That's it. Like, literally, I just do. I can't explain everything. I don't have all the answers. I'm not making anything up because I'm just trying to keep up with what the fuck's going on in my life. And I'm trying to document it because it's important to me. It's important to me that these things are documented. It's important to me that my truth is out there, whether or not it's heard, whether it's not it's paid attention to, whether or not it's discounted. Doesn't matter. Every single sex assault victim fears not being believed. And 2/3 of sex assault victims don't even ever say anything. So to dishonor somebody who is willing to stand up and be strong and say the truth and state the truth, that's really just pretty, I'm not surprised it's John Doe, Jane Doe, you should have put that down. That would have gotten my fire started more. But yeah, so there you go, John Doe. You want to say that I'm nuts? Say it to my face. Don't be like these people and have to anesthetize me to rape me, because I would more than willing go toe to toe with these people, and they know that. And the only reason that they don't do that is because they don't want to be held accountable. And that is a typical rapist. That is a typical criminal. No accountability, no responsibility, no ability to do any of those things. And I'd die. I would fight to the death. And that's how it would go. And I'm willing to do that. They're the ones that aren't. So don't be like them and sort of like come at me, John Doe-ish, You want to have a conversation? I'm always open to having conversations, But spewing out accusations like that, trying to create and sustain a dialogue that they keep doing in order to discredit what I'm saying, nah. I'm not going to not comment on that.